Good morning, good morning, good morning. What's up? How you doing? Welcome back to Get Over the Hump. And as you can see, your boy is on location. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome back to Get Over the Hump. For those who know, we are here every Wednesday and Friday mornings at 7 a.m. Eastern. And it's a place where we bring leaders, entrepreneurs, professionals together to create the fresh perspective needed to give us that to get to the other side. So let me say again to you, good morning, and again I say to you, good morning. So we know the first three questions. Did you bring somebody with you? Did you get us to three people? And where we tapping in from? Yeah. Let's make sure we get it. First three questions. Did you bring somebody with you? Did you get us to three people? Where we tapping in from? Yeah, we're here. What up, Shakara? What up, Miss Sandra? What's up, Ma? What up, Seta? What up, Jasmine? Yo, we in the building. I see y'all. Good morning. That's what up, though. 313. We already know what it is. Queens, New York is in the building. We know how we get down. Yes, ma'am. Good morning. And again, I say to you all, good morning. Oh, yeah, we on location, Shakara. We on location. All right. Y'all know when I'm on location, I try not to be long. But let's get into this. But before we get into it, I'm sorry. You ready? That's it up. Today's Wednesday. So what kind of week are you having? Are you having the I'm a classic kind of week, which simply says, I'm no longer explaining myself to people who insist on seeing me through their own lens? The second kind of week is my dopeness doesn't expire, where I can actually chill out and be present because I know I'm going to arrive in time. I'm on time to impact the people I'm supposed to at the right time. Oh, but then we go to last, but definitely not least, I'm built for this. Well, we understand that what was meant to destroy us developed us. What was meant to kill us gave us life. And what's in front of us doesn't stand a chance. Let's make sure we check in and figure out what kind of week are we having here, good people. All right, I see you, Shakara. My dopeness doesn't expire. No, ma'am, it does not. Let's be clear on that. It does not. Looking forward to the 19th. Just for the record, looking forward to the 19th. I think we might make some people a little uncomfortable, but looking forward to the 19th. I'm a classic. I see you, Seta. Yep, we're going to chill out. I don't work too hard. My resume's too long. Get out of here. We're not doing that, right? I'm built for this. Yeah, Miss Sandra, I watch you. I watch what you do. And you definitely are built for what's in front of you. Come on. Jasmine, in the true Jasmine way. Yep, built classically dope. I see you. I'm not mad at that. I like it. Yep, Mom, I see you. I'm built for this. Hey, Shakara, we're going to have some fun. So, all right, let's get into it. What I want to talk about today is this idea of different strength. All right? I want to talk about this idea of different strength. When we look at our lives and we get ourselves to a certain position, we see courage, we see strength as one thing. Maybe it's, the bodybuilders, that they are strong. We look at somebody who maybe got fired and didn't go off, and we see that as strong. We see maybe our moms or our loved ones that maybe work 3-4 jobs, and that resilience and that endurance, we say that they're strong. And when we look at that and we're trying to figure out what more can we get out of ourselves to be inspired to do what we've seen. Yeah, it's let me go a little bit deeper. We look at things from a sports exploits perspective. Kobe Bryant had 81 points. Michael Jordan had the flu game. Back in the day when you talk about baseball, Reggie Jackson hit three home runs in the World Series. Like, these are things that we think are strength. We see these as being strong, courageous, heroic feats. This is what we look at when we see these things, right? And so there's a push for us to go deeper, overcome, suck it up, you can, you will, and all those beautiful things. And you know something? I love it. I come from a city of grit. The 313 is about grit. It's about growing up in the 80s and the 90s where our mayor literally told the white people they could go to hell on TV. and would cuss them out on TV as a kid. Coleman A. Young, that's my mayor. It's a grit that says I will survive regardless. That's where you get the phrase Detroit versus everybody from. This is this grit. This is why people have identified with that particular phrase and other things across the globe. And if I came to your city, where you're from, whether it's New York, whether it's DMV, no matter where you're from, everybody has that level of grit, has that level of, I got you. I can show you better than I can tell you. And so that actually is the very thing that we're used to. That's the very thing for us as African Americans that's put us in a position from the plantations in which we've been able, all of us here on this call have been able to survive. Is that in the DNA of each and every last one of us is the ability to be able to survive extenuating circumstances because our ancestors did it. That overcoming drive, that gene is in everybody's DNA because you don't get here if your ancestors didn't do it. I just want to be very, very clear. Sometimes when you're looking at yourself like, I could do better, I could be better, and everything else, I need you to understand that you don't get to where you are right now. You don't make that thing happen the way that you make it happen if it's not in your DNA. The same way that height is in my DNA. The same way that maybe being tall, being short, being thick, being slim is in your DNA. Color of your eyes, the color of your hair is in your DNA. Overcoming is in your DNA. That is in your DNA. And because that is in your DNA, we know what's going to happen when the bell is rung and you got to show up. You show up. We know what's going to happen when when the lights come on is that you know how to perform. Why? Because it's in your DNA and everything about you has shown that to this point. That's what we determine to be strength. That's what we determine to be overcoming. That's why some of us can't sit still and sit down. We always got to keep it moving. That's why some of us get bored and get antsy when it's time to rest. That's why some of us don't take vacations, because it's about the overcoming. It's about the grind. It's about the push. It's about the let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. And you know something? I'm not mad at that. That's one way to look at strength. But what I want to push us today to think through this statement here, because we got to look at strength different. And I'm going to say this. I'm going to say it a couple of times. I said it to a friend of mine last week, and I said, I got to make sure that I talk to you all about it. The statement is this. The next level that you're trying to get to in your life is not going to come from the work of your hands, but it's going to come by the strength of your faith. Let me say that to you again. The next level that you are trying to get to in your life is not going to come by the work of your hands. It is going to come by the strength of your faith. Yep, I just want to let that sink in for a second. Because we have the DNA of overcoming. Because we have the DNA of making things happen. We believe that if we just work harder, we're going to get it. If we just do more, we got it. But that is the misnomer, that is the fallacy of the next level, and the thing that you want to do is that it will not be based on the work of your hands. It will be based on the strength of your faith. Now, let's talk about what different strength looks like. And I'm going to tell you why we have to lean into the strength of our faith versus the work of our hands at this next level. The first thing is okay, we back because it said that my joint paused. I'm on location. So the first thing we got to talk about is that the work of your hands has gotten you here. So the first reason why we got to lean into and look at strength different, or a different strength, is because the work of your hands got you here. And I want you to understand, that's to be applauded. Many people would have given up. They would have broken down. They would have quit if it wasn't about courage, strength, and work. Yep, you've done that. And because it's gotten you here, it's giving you a different point of view or perspective for you to now know that there are things that are possible and greater in your life. See, without the work of your hands to this point, without the grit and the grind that you currently have, without the overcoming, no matter what, I get it done, without that level of attitude that's been forged in the fire to be able to overcome the things that you've overcome, you're not in this position to be able to look and say, what's the next level? So the reason we have to look at strength different first is because the work of your hands got you here. And when we talk about the work of our hands, let's just think about our physical capacity. Everybody has 24 hours in 7 days. And I know some people will say, man, if I had another day or a couple of more hours, I would be better. Here's what you're going to do, is you're going to find out how to do more work with your hands as opposed to delegation and systems. That is the misnomer. It isn't the fact that you don't have enough time. It's that you are trying to do it all on your own. And what got you here is not going to get you there. Let me be 100% clear. What got you here is not going to get you there. So when we understand that the work of our hands has a space and a time in which we have to look at this point of view, this perch, this mountaintop in which we're on, to understand that we cannot get to where we ultimately, or the next level we want to go, if it's just on the work of our hands, because the work of our hands will get fatigued, they will get old, and they will expire. And many of us have to be honest about the fact that thinking about grinding even harder, thinking about working even more is actually exhausting from that very thought. But you're trying to push yourself and you're trying to keep yourself to keep going because in your DNA, ancestry, it is driven that we overcome, we drive, and we grind. But the drive and the grind won't take you there. I'll say the statement again for those who just jumped on. This next level in your life is not going to be achieved by the work of your hands. It will happen by the strength of your faith. So the first reason we have to look at strength different is because our strength, the work of our hands got us here, but it will not get us there. You don't have enough time in a day. You don't have enough time left in your life. You don't have enough time in the week. And only one person can accomplish so much. Only one person can accomplish so much. And the dream that you have, the vision of your mind that you want to become the reality of your life is greater than anything that you've ever seen, and you know it's beyond you. You know it's beyond you. That's why some of us have been trying to ignore it. That's why some of us have been trying to get away from it. You know it's beyond you, but you're still trying to figure out how can I do it, but that's still the work of your hands. The second reason we got to look at strength different is because of our familiarity with the work of our hands. Watch this. We have become too familiar with our work ethic, too familiar with our resume, too familiar on what we can do. And because we are so concerned about what we can do, we don't think about what God can do. Because we are so concerned about how we're going to be able to make it happen, because you had to overcome something. You had to put yourself in a position where you didn't have anybody that was going to show up for you. You had to show up for yourself. You've been left and abandoned in some spaces in which you had to show up for your kids when nobody else showed up. You had to be able to be in some dark spaces in which your family members didn't even know what you were going through, and you showed up. So you're saying, if I'm going to take it to the next level, I'm going to show up for me. The problem is that you're not putting any trust or any faith in anything else but yourself. And here's one thing that we know. No matter how good you are, you're going to let yourself down too. You're going to disappoint you too. So if we put our faith and our trust in something that we know well, that still will put us in a position to be disappointed, how does that take us to the next level? It doesn't. It allows for us to continue to keep spinning like hamsters in a wheel, not being able to go forward. So the second reason we have to look at strength different is because we're too familiar with our resume. We're still so familiar with the resume that when things show up about making things happen, we don't pray, we don't consult, we just simply say, I got this. Or we're willing to turn down an opportunity because we can't do it, so we won't do it. I'll give you an example. It was 2016, 2017, somewhere around in there. I had this amazing opportunity to go speak and teach with UAW Ford. They were first real big speaking gig. They were going to fly me down at the time to Atlanta. I was still living in Detroit. They were going to pay for my hotel. They were going to pay me an honorarium. Like they was going to do all this stuff. Like this was a big deal. And they told me the topic they wanted us to talk, wanted me to talk on. And it was due to some cultural stuff that was going on within their organization with social media and generational differences and everything else. But they really wanted to rest more on social media, cyberbullying, and everything else. And at the time, that was really in front of my skis. That was outside of my comfort zone. That was not my lane. And I was literally getting ready to tell them no, that I couldn't do it and let the opportunity pass on to somebody else. And I just happened to be having a very transparent conversation with my brother. And I told him like, yo, dog, I'm getting ready to tell him, no, this ain't what I do. And I like to be authentic for what I do. I'm not chasing no check just to get it. I think it's a dope opportunity, but I got to turn it down. He said, so what are they doing? And I explained to him what I just told you all. He says, hey, don't turn that down. He said, don't turn that down. Go find out if they'll let me come with you because we can tag team it together. You do the part that you're good on and you let me dive into the social media and the impact of branding and that stuff. At the time, he was the CEO of Collision Records. They had made some amazing exploits in the gospel hip hop industry as an independent label. And so I asked one question. They flew us both down, paid for our hotels, gave us the honorarium. It was the first time they, knocked that thing out the park, straight off the skis. It was amazing. To the point that they brought us back again, brought me back, and then brought us again back together. So when you talk about having the opportunity, that I would have missed out on an opportunity to do something because I was so familiar with my resume that I couldn't get myself to the next level of exposure of being able to impact people because I was too worried about what I could do versus what could happen about what I was surrounded with. And because of that, from a peer revenue perspective, multiple honorariums, multiple gigs that's coming out of that, multiple things that impacted that has led me to this space right now. But it literally was me getting ready to turn an opportunity down because my resume said that it was beyond me. And I did not say, if this is my opportunity, how do I rally those around me? What do I need to do? Because it's not going to come by the works of my hands or my resume because this is beyond me. And it's okay that it's beyond you. It's okay that it's beyond you. Because what's beyond you requires for you to be able to fill the gap. And we can ready to talk about how we fill the gap. Do me a favor. Put some fire, put some lighters in the chat. Let me know we're doing all right. Is this helping? Because I really want us to begin to think about strength differently. And the statement is, the next level that you are striving for in your life is not going to come by the work of your hands. It is going to come by the strength of your faith. I just want to make sure that we solid on that. If you don't get nothing else today, remember that. The next level you're striving towards, that you're pushing towards hard, whether it's in your health, it's your finances, it's your business, it's your professional career, whatever it is not going to come by the strength of your hands. It is going to come by. It's not going to come by the work of your hands. It's going to come by the strength of your faith. All right. So now, last but not least, before we get out of here, is I want to take us to the last reason why we got to look at strength different, right? We got to look at strength different. One, because we understand that the work of our hands got us here. And that's a good thing because it creates the point of view and the perspective that's needed and necessary for us to believe that more is possible. So I don't want you to think that what got you here is a bad thing. It's limited because it can't take you there. The second thing we talked about is that the work of our hands has created a level of familiarity that allows for us to either say, I got this or I got to let it go. And because we're sitting in this space where we see this gap, is why some of us are overthinking, where we don't take the next steps because we're saying, I can't do this. And you know something? You can't do it alone. That's why it's not about the work of your hands. It's about the strength of your faith. So the last piece. The last reason why we got to look at strength different is because faith is required to close the gap. Let me say that to you again. The last reason why we have to look at strength different is because faith is required to close the gap. Everything that you have done to this moment, everything that you have done to this time, was meant for you to have clarity and have confidence that more is possible. I want you to understand that everything that you have done to this moment and to this point was meant for you to have clarity, to have confidence, and to know that more is possible. And because now that you know that more is possible, it isn't meant for you to stop. It's meant for you to reevaluate. That if I take the work of my hands, my resume that I've done so far, and now I partner this with a different level of faith, because let me not discount that some of you all have gotten to where you've gotten to, why you've worked as hard as you've worked, because you had faith, because you believed in who you were. You believed in what God created you to be. But that right there isn't next level. So now we're talking about, I'm going to take what I know that I do well, and I'm going to partner that with faith, that I'm connected to the resources, I'm connected to the opportunities, that I'm connected with the people, that now all of a sudden the vision of my mind that makes me scared, the vision of my mind that actually makes me take pause, the vision of my mind that I actually don't want anything to do with because it's beyond my skis, it's going to cause for a different level of sacrifice. It's going to push me into a place in which I don't necessarily know that I'm ready to be pushed. That thing right there, I'm going to have faith that God didn't give it to me just for it to torture me, but he gave it to me to liberate me and others around me. So since then, now that faith has to close the gap, now I got to be open to understand that how I get there is going to be different on how I got here. See, that's what faith says. Faith says that it's going to be different on how I get there versus how I got here. But I have to be open in my heart to be able to receive that it may come from somebody that I wasn't expecting. It may come from a resource that I didn't believe. I might actually have to stay in corporate America a little bit longer to get the skills and the resources and the relationships that's going to be that hockey puck move. It may take us a moment to actually can reconnect or reevaluate or to fix a relationship that actually is connected to us going. Not because they got the resources, not because they got the relationships. It's because you need to get that monkey off your back and to be able to let that go so your spirit can be free to get to the next spot. Will you be willing to close the gap in faith to do something that looks like it has nothing to do with what it's going to take you to get there? Because remember, you are so familiar with the works of your hands because the works of your hands have gotten you here. You then have to begin to open up your heart, open up your mind that something else is possible for you to get to where you're trying to get to. So faith is going to take that. Yep, faith is the substance, right, of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. I hope and know that there's more. That's why I can't go back to thinking that I can just be cool where I'm at. So now I have to be able to go, what am I hoping for that I don't yet see manifested in my life? And since I don't yet see this manifested in my life, that does not mean that it will not be manifested in my life. The question is, God, how are you bringing me to the resources? How are you connecting me to the space? What else do you want me to do different? And I have to be able to trust that walking out on this ledge is not going to be because I got the best balance. It's because I got the strongest faith. That's shady funny. So what I want us to make sure is that what are we having faith in? What are we believing in? Is it in us or is it in God that can do what he needs to do through us? And a lot of times when we say we trust in God, but we trust in God to move the way that we want God to move. That's not trusting God. That's manipulation. That's not trusting God. That's using him as a genie in a bottle. That's not trusting God. What we want to be able to say, God, is I trust you. So if you tell me to go left, I'm going left, though I think I need to go right. God, everything that you taught me to this point meant that I'm supposed to stay still and not do anything, and you're telling me to move forward into the darkness. If I trust you, then we also understand that faith without works is dead. So what are the works of my hands showing me in this next season to get to the next level? And many of us who are overthinkers will try to allow for us to be more comfortable in what we've done to allow for us to feel excused or let off the hook for what we're supposed to do. And what you've done has been brilliant. What you've done has been great. But what you've done is not what you're supposed to do. Do me a favor, put some fire and some letters in the chat. I just want to make sure we walking through this thing, because I really, really know for us right now, everybody who is on here right now, that the next level of your life is only going to come by the strength of your faith, not by the works of your hands. Because if we understand that faith without works is dead, works is already there. I'm going to take, if we're going to go back to it, it's understanding that the reason why you're in position for the next level, why you believe that more is possible, it's because you worked hard. It's because you've been resilient. But I need you to understand that you cannot get there the way that you got here by the work of your hands. It's going to take you to close the gap with faith. Faith is very uncomfortable because it's not certain. Faith is you hoping in something that you don't quite see. Faith is hoping in something that you hope is going to be magnetized. Faith is, like Steve Harvey says, jumping off the ledge, hoping that the parachute opens. And many of us want to have the certainty before we move, and that's not faith. And the certainty that we've been doubling down on is in the work of our hands. It's why we are stalling, we are frustrated, and we can't get there. I'm going to say to you that we start this quarter out. This is the first Wednesday of Q2. That we start this quarter out believing in faith. Asking for the Lord to strengthen our faith. Asking for God to strengthen our faith. And your faith will be strengthened if you open your eyes. If you open your heart. There's a song that says, open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. For some of us, that might need to be a prayer, because we can't see past what we've already done to get to what we're supposed to do. So we need to open the eyes of our heart, because we need to see him. We need to see that everything that we need, everything that we have is right before us, but we have not been accessing the power because we're too busy focused on the strength of our hands. Now, when you put faith with the strength of your hands, now that's a synergistic connection that is unstoppable, because we're leading with faith, and faith without works is dead. So you're going to know what I believe based on how you see me moving. So if I'm still trying to do it all on my own, wishing that I had eight days in a week and had 25 hours in a day, then you're still going to know that I have more faith in what I can do versus what God can do. I have more faith in what I can do versus what God can do through others to benefit the vision he's given me. Because the God-given vision that you've been given, which is the next level that you're striving towards, actually is meant for God to be able to show up through others and other resources that allows for it to enhance, because he trusts you. But can he trust you enough to open up your hands, open up your heart, to allow others to be in, to allow other pathways to show up that gets you to where you know you're supposed to be, to bless the lives that are looking for the answers that you have? That's why we got to look at strength a little bit different. Strength is not about these courageous feats. Sports is riddled with them. Michael Jordan never would have beat the Detroit Pistons back in the day if it was all about him. He was scoring champion, MVP, defensive player of the year, and the Pistons still was kicking his butt. But in order for him to become a champion, he had to have faith in his teammates to do something that he couldn't do. I need us to really understand that. I need us to understand that. So here's all I want you to do. Here's all I want you to do today. I want you to do two parts. I want you to take a step back and be thankful for everything that's gotten you here. Everything that's gotten you here. How hard you've worked, overcoming the heartbreak, overcoming the disappointments, overcoming the divorce, overcoming bad health, overcoming getting laid off, overcoming all those things and those resources, the strength and all those things that you have worked so hard to get through. I need you to write those down and reflect on that. Because I want you to understand that it's not in vain. Because today you have the ability to be able to see differently because of what you did that got you here. There's nothing wrong with that. But I also want us to be honest when we look at that, and then we look at what's the next level. Maybe it's multi-million-dollar business. Maybe it's franchising, having multiple locations. Maybe it's being happy, healthy, and whole. Whatever that is. I don't know what it is. And I want you to write that down. I want you to write that down. So the first thing is, write down how you got here, all the things you've overcome. Yes, Shane, if it takes you to cry over several sheets, cry over several sheets. Now I want you to talk about what is the next level that I'm supposed to be at in my life right now. That vision that God has given you. That thing that you've been trying to ignore. That whisper you've been trying to quiet that I told us last week we need to turn it up. That's the thing I want you to then write down. And now say, if I did everything that I did to get to this point, can I get to where I'm supposed to go? And if most of us ask the question, answer the question honestly, it's going to be no. If you look at where you're supposed to go and how it took you to get to this point here, ask yourself the question, do I want to give it that level of energy and that level of effort again? If most of us answer the question is going to be no. I don't want to fight that hard no more. I don't want to work that hard no more. I know that I can't get there, so I'm just going to ignore it. You can't ignore it. Now you got to actually have faith to say, well, if I don't have the energy and the works of my hands can't get me there, then God, you got to get me there. And I'm saying for many of you all, like he told Peter, come. That's going to, if you take yourself through that exercise, what it's going to do is it's going to show you the spaces in which God is going to call you out on the water. He's going to tell you to come. And maybe you need to do what Peter did. Just let me verify. This ain't me tripping. This ain't me in my head. God, if this you, tell me to come. He said, come. And he walked on water. He closed the gap from being in a boat that was getting ready to be capsized in a storm to being able to walk on water, to be calm in the midst of everything that was going around. If this is what we're talking about, if we're going to be honest, we know I can't do it with what I've done before. And I don't have the energy nor desire to do it like that again, to go to the next level. Then I need you to ask Jesus to let me come. Come on the water and take the first step in that direction. Because you know where you're supposed to go. That's the thing. You know where you're supposed to go. You're just afraid that by the works of your hands, you can't get there. And here's the one thing. That's the one time that fear is telling you the truth. You can't get there based on what you've done before. Because you will not get to the next level of your life based on the works of your hands, but it will come by the strength of your faith. Listen, good people, I appreciate y'all. I hope this was helpful today. I hope this resonates into your hearts and your spirits as we are moving ourselves forward now in Q2. This is our moment. This is our moment to show, what do we believe? What do we need to, where's our faith show up to put us in a position to get to the next level? There is a next level. You know it because you're standing on the perch. You got the point of view that you know more is available. Don't allow for that to scare you. Be excited about it. Just know that you don't have to work as hard, because it will not come by the work of your hands, but it's going to come by the strength of your faith. All right, good people. Before we jump off, those who already know. First off, if you are part of the newsletter, listen, I hope it's been a blessing to you. It's been a blessing to me to continue to keep writing and creating it every week. Those who want to be a part of the newsletter, you can click the link in the bio. Click the link in the bio and subscribe to it. It's a 2 to 4 minute read. It comes out every Monday at 8 a.m. Eastern. So would love for you to be a part of that. Two, ironically, I'm taking a site visit this weekend, to go to DC to get prepared for October the 4th and the 5th, And so I'm excited. I can tell you this. When I come back, I'm probably going to be a little bit on one. But you want to make sure you're on the waiting list. Make sure you're on the waiting list. That's where we're going to release everything. The goal is to start doing early bird tickets by the end of this month so people can start reserving their spots. I know you all have taken time off of work. I know you are getting your PTO ready. You're trying to figure out how you're getting there. I will then give out what ticket prices and everything else. We just got to finalize a couple more things, and we'll start releasing that information. And then last but not least, April the 11th. That is actually next Thursday, April the 11th. We are doing another evening session that we now call the Golden Hour. That we will be together for no more than an hour. We'll talk through a different topic that is critical to us answering the whisper in our hearts, that's reverberating in our souls in this critical moment of our lives as we talk about the dawning of a new day and the setting of the old. And when I help you understand that this golden hour doesn't need you to add anything to it, it just needs for you to show up, listen, and lean in. That's what we're going to do on April the 11th. We call it the golden hour. We're going to talk through a little bit different on perspective and how we see things as we get ourselves a little bit closer to what it is that we need to do. So, listen, I 100% appreciate y'all. I love y'all. And thank you for rocking with your boy. So, I appreciate you, Shane. So, here's what I'm going to tell you. Extend yourself some grace. I know I can tell by the comments this landed for a couple of you all today. Extend yourself some grace and understand you need to be celebrated for what you did to get here. I don't want that to be missed. I need you to understand you need to be celebrated for what it took for you to get here. Now that you know that there's more than just this moment that you're in, we got to exercise our faith. We got to strengthen our faith. We got to be willing to walk out on the water. We got to be in that space that, Lord, I believe, but help my unbelief. Like, this is that vulnerable space right now that it doesn't take for us to continue to keep being tough and being hard. We got to be vulnerable to allow for that to be strengthened as we move forward, because there are people expecting and believing in us. And as we walk into this unknown of this new level of faith, I want us to extend ourselves grace. And remember, just because you started out on this journey to get better, it doesn't mean that you weren't already good. So tell a neighbor, tell a friend, bring them with you on Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern.